My name is Sasha, the girl behind Legends from Mom's Closet, and this is my book. But it's not just a book. We focus on dress up, learning, creativity, and saving our oceans. I couldn't fit all the legends I wanted to in my diary, but that's okay, because now I can share the legends in history and the legends of our days. Well, speaking about that, today, guys, you won't believe it. Today I'm here with the legendary Ron Magill, who's an expert animal photographer and the director of communications at Zoo Miami. Let's learn some more about him and his life. Hello. Nice to meet you again.
Oh my goodness, nice to see you too. Look at this.
This is actually you.
You know what I love about this?
Thank
you.
you.
Gave me a lot of hair.
Thank you.
That's really nice.
Thank you so much.
Harpy Eagle
yes,
too.
just like you have in your pictures.
I remember, my goodness. Well, thank you.
Thank
very
you so much.
Oh, thank
and
you.
here's also another book that I wrote.
Oh
it's called
goodness.
Legends from Mom's Closet.
Look at this beautiful. Who's that beautiful woman on the cover?
That's me.
Really?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to come back to my office real quick?
Yes, sure. And can I introduce my dance partner? His name is Alex. Yes. What age did you find your love for animals?
You know, ever since I can remember. When I was a kid, there was a show on television. It was called Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. It was on Sunday night every night. It was on Sunday night at 7:30, right before The Wonderful World of Disney. And that show introduced me into the world of wildlife. I wanted to do all the things. There was one gentleman on that show who was the host, and he was kind of my hero. Other than my dad, his name was Jim Fowler. That's a picture of him right there holding the owl. He was my hero, and he's the one who taught me how to work with animals, taught me how to communicate with people, how to be a good storyteller. So ever since I was a little boy, since I can remember, I've always known I wanted to work with animals.
So you've met him too?
I met Jim. Jim became a really, really good friend of mine 30-something years ago, and we've traveled around the world together. You know, sadly, he passed away a couple of years ago. He was already in his 80s. He was an elderly gentleman, but he had a great life, and he was a big inspiration for me.
I love animals too, and ever since I can remember too, I've always asked for a dog or some pets, and finally I got one this year.
You did?
Yes.
What's his name?
Marzipan.
Marzipan?
Yes.
What is he?
He's a poodle.
A poodle? Those are great dogs. You know why? They don't shed.
Yes,
So
that's
really
why
nice.
we got him.
Very nice and clean. Very smart dogs too.
Yes,
I had a poodle. One of my very first dogs was a poodle. His name was Bijou. You know what Bijou means?
No.
It means jewel in French. So his name was Bijou. One of the smartest dogs I ever worked with.
He must have been so beautiful.
He was. He was a silver toy poodle.
Well, silver?
Yeah, he was silver, real silver. I mean, he wasn't like gray. He was silver. He was a beautiful dog.
What was the first photo of wildlife that you've taken?
Gosh, I don't know if I can remember the very first photo of wildlife, but it probably was a squirrel. Because when I was a little kid, I got my first camera. We had squirrels in the yard, and I remember being fascinated by photographing the squirrels.
Were you born here in Florida?
I was born in New York City.
Oh.
Yeah, I was born in New York City, and I moved down here when I was 12 years old.
What's your personal favorite animal that you've worked with?
You know, a lot of people ask me that question. It's hard to answer that question. I think the correct thing would be the last one I ever worked with. But in reality, the Harpy Eagle is my favorite animal.
Is that why he's in all your pictures?
He's all my pictures. I've done a lot of work with Harpy Eagles down in Panama and in Brazil. It's the most powerful bird of prey on earth. I find it to be very majestic. You know, I always say to myself, if I was going to be an animal, I would be a Harpy Eagle, because I have dreams that I can fly sometimes.
Oh, I used to have those dreams too.
Really cool,
yes.
right? And then when living in the tropical forest, it's just the most beautiful environment in the world. You know, living in this gorgeous green forest with so many animals and so many beautiful sounds. So the Harpy Eagle would probably be my favorite, followed by the cheetah.
Yeah, cheetahs are amazing too. They're beautiful.
Beautiful, very fast, fastest land animal on earth, 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 4 seconds.
Wow.
very fast. So I've traveled to Africa over 50 times, and I do a lot of work with cheetah conservation.
I've always wanted to go to Africa.
You know,
I feel like it's
Sasha,
really beautiful.
You're going to go to Africa one day. I know it. I know in my heart you're going to go to Africa one day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you could meet any extinct animal, which one would it be and why?
You know, I guess instinctively I want to say one of the big dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You know, like a big Brontosaurus. Some would say the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I wouldn't want to meet a big meteor. I want to be like the big animal, you know, a really big animal that was a gentle animal. I'd like to see the way it moves, the sounds that it makes, the true colors, you know, because a lot of that is all guessing that we have now.
Would that be like a Brontosaurus?
A Brontosaurus, yeah, with a long, long neck, you know, a big vegetarian, big, huge, but it was a vegetarian, it wasn't a man-eater, so to speak.
Have you ever worked with like a currently extinct animal?
I've never worked with an animal that's extinct now that wasn't extinct in my lifetime. I've seen animals, but I've not worked with them. Certain frogs that have become extinct, but I've not worked with them. But there are certain frogs, you know, amphibians are going through a big crisis right now with climate change and the chytrid fungus. These are wiping out a lot of different amphibians, especially frogs. They're going through a big crisis.
It's very sad. I also really love frogs. They're beautiful.
And frogs are what we call an indicator species. You know what that means?
No.
An indicator species is a species that helps tell us that there may be problems with the environment. Okay, so frogs, because frogs are what we call cutaneous respirators. Cutaneous meaning very fancy word for skin. They breathe through their skin. So they're very sensitive to any little type of toxin or anything that's in the air. So they may get sick very quickly, way before we do, because we don't breathe through our skin, we breathe through our lungs, and we help protect ourselves from toxins in the air by not having it go right through our skin so easily. So when frogs get sick, it may be an indication to us that we need to pay very close attention to the environment because something may be wrong there. Okay, you know, when coal miners used to go down and work in the coal mines, they would send a canary down first in a cage. They sent the canary down in the coal mine, and then they let it there for a few minutes and then bring it back up. And if the canary was dead, they knew that there was poisonous gas down there. That canary indicated to them, this is not a safe place to work. Okay, so frogs are an indicator species for the health of an entire environment because they're so sensitive to the slightest changes in the environment.
What is something that people don't normally know about zoos?
I think one of the misconceptions that people have about zoos is that zoos take animals out of the wild. And zoos do not take animals out of the wild anymore. They did that many years ago. What zoos do is they try to give animals a good home under human care that are born under human care. And they serve as an insurance policy. See, people think that zoos, generally speaking, are just attractions, right? You're just going to come and see the animal. Zoos have changed a lot. Now,
So now they're like a sanctuary.
yes, they are in a lot of ways, but that's the difference between a good zoo and a bad zoo, and there are a lot of bad zoos, and people need to know how to tell the difference between what we call a roadside attraction and a zoological institution, a place that's working for conservation. Okay, a good zoo is putting significant amount of funding into supporting conservation in the wild. Right? That's the number one goal, to help ensure that these animals are always found in the wild. The animals we have here under human care are basically an insurance policy. They're an insurance policy in case, God forbid, something happens where an animal becomes extinct in the wild. We've already been able to do that with several species. We have the California condor, the black-footed ferret, Arabian oryx, the red wolf. All these animals became extinct in the wild, and if it weren't for zoos repopulating the wild populations, they'd be extinct. You would never be able to see one alive again.
That's very unfortunate. And that's something that we usually see in a lot of the cartoons, like, for example, even Dumbo, where the elephants get locked up in cages.
That's right. You know, we have to understand that really in a perfect world, we wouldn't need any zoos, because in a perfect world, you guys would be able to go to Africa and see an elephant walking across the Serengeti, or go to the Arctic and see a polar bear hunting, or go to the Amazon and see a jaguar walking through a forest. But most people can't do that, you see. So what zoos have to do is they have to provide a window into that world. But we can't just be putting animals in small cages. We have to build environments for them. So you're learning not only about the animal, but you're learning about the environment that that animal lives in. That's the goal of zoos, to plant a seed in people like you so that as you grow, you want to protect animals. You want to conserve those places that they live in the wild. You see, it's really an investment in getting you to care about wildlife.
Yes, and here in Miami Zoo, they make the habitats where the animal lives just exactly like they look in the natural world.
That's the goal, is to try to reproduce the natural habitat as closely as possible. For instance, here in Miami, we have we're the only zoo in the continental United States that's in a subtropical climate. So we're able to exhibit animals that come from hot, humid places, whether it be the rainforest of South America or, the forests of Africa, Central Africa. We don't have polar bears here. We don't have penguins here. We don't have animals that are found in cold climates because it wouldn't be good for them to be in this hot, humid climate. Yeah, it would not be comfortable for them. So we try to concentrate just on animals that are naturally found in this climate in an outdoor, beautiful environment.
Well, that's very good for the animals.
It is.
What has been your favorite part about working on TV?
My favorite part about working on TV is getting to meet people like you, okay? Because when people, especially young people like yourself, see me on TV, sometimes they tend to pay attention to me. I get to be interviewed by people like you, and I hopefully get to inspire people like you to keep doing what you're doing. You are role models to me. You inspire me much more than I could ever inspire you. I can tell you that right now. So being on television, what it's done is it's given me a platform to reach many, many people. We may have 1 million people come through this zoo in an entire year. Okay, I can reach sometimes 1 million people in 5 minutes on the right television program. So it's an effective way to connect with people, to reach out. Like you guys now have social media. Social media is doing a lot of that. You reach out, you have the ability to connect with a lot more people. So that's what I appreciate about television. But I want to make something very clear, that a lot of people see people on television, and because they see them on television, they think they're important or they think they're smart. And that's not the truth. I can tell you from having worked with lots of people on television throughout my life that being on television doesn't necessarily make you important. Okay, that's kind of what I call kind of a shallow attitude. Don't get caught up in the celebrity of life. Okay, look at people for who they are and the work they're doing, because sometimes the gentleman who drives around in your neighborhood in a truck to collect your garbage every day is just as important, if not more so, than the person you may see on television. Okay?
Honestly, you're a true legend to me.
Coming from you, that means more to me than you can ever imagine.
Mr. Magill, your career is super impressive. I've even read that you worked on helping with the production of The Lion King that you've also just told us about. What would you say has been your biggest achievement yet?
My biggest achievement professionally was to establish the Ron Magill Conservation Endowment here at the zoo. For me, I didn't come to work here 41 years ago to work for an attraction. My main goal in coming to work for the zoo is to help protect animals in the wild where they belong. I became a little frustrated that we'd spend millions of dollars building new exhibits, but we weren't spending nearly enough money to protect the animals in the wild. Yes, we were doing good education programs. We were trying to educate people when they came here to the zoo, but I think zoos need to do more than that. I think zoos really need to invest in conservation programs in the wild. So when I didn't think that we were doing enough, I went out on my own to raise money to help protect animals in the wild. When I first started, nobody thought I would be able to do it, and I was even doubting myself, because I knew that in order for it to be successful, I would have to raise at least $1 million. That's an awful lot of money. Yeah. I've never seen $1 million. So I went out, and fortunately all these people that you see hanging up on my wall, these are all friends of mine. They've all been very successful in their own careers. And I told them about my dream, about my passion of creating an endowment. An endowment is something where you raise a certain amount of money, and then you cannot touch that money. You put that money into an investment account, and it creates dividends, interest, okay? Hopefully your investments are good. And then you take the money from the dividends, and then you can spend that for whatever project you want. And what that does is it ensures sustainability. It ensures that every year there's more money coming out, see, if you invest it. But I'd have to raise $1 million. Didn't think I was able to do it, but I'm very happy to say that not only was I able to raise $1 million, I now have raised $2.5 million. And that's what makes up the Ron Magill Conservation Endowment. And every year I give away tens of thousands of dollars to conservation projects around the world. I also provide scholarships for people who want to work in conservation and work to provide wildlife. So I help them get through their school also through the endowment. So Sasha, one day if you get older and you need a scholarship to do anything in school, you better call me, because I think the Ron Magill Conservation Endowment will be very, very happy to provide you with that scholarship.
What would you say has been the animal experience that has had the biggest impact on your life?
Okay, well, I'm going to give you this question. I'm going to answer this question now. It's going to be nothing what you expected. You ready?
Yes.
I was moving some crocodiles one day, and I was young, and I was careless. I wasn't as careful as I should have been, and a crocodile bit me pretty badly in the hand. I know. I went, "Ah!" Fortunately, I had some guys with me there that helped me out. They had to stick a shovel in his mouth so I could get my hand back out. Bones were broken. I was cut up really badly. It was really a bad scene. I got to go to the hospital, right? Woo, 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 woo. Got to have surgery on my hand.
Wow.
I know, because they had to put pins and fix it up because it was really in bad shape. I'm in the hospital and I'm really upset because I can't use my hand and it's all bad. It's the right hand. I can't use my hand. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen now? This is horrible. It hurts so badly, and nothing good could come of this. And then I had to go down to get physical therapy. My physical therapist was going to teach me how to use my hand again, hopefully to get it to work, right?
Did it stop working?
Yeah, my hand wasn't working very well because they cut bones and tendons. It was really bad. The bite was bad. So I'm in there waiting for my physical therapist to come in. She walked in. She was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. I got scared. I thought I died and went to heaven because she looked like an angel. I looked at her and everything around her turned foggy, and all I could hear was like, oh. She came up to me, she held my hand. She moved it. It hurt so badly, but when she asked me if it hurt, you know what I said? No. You know why? I said I didn't want her to let go of my hand. And you know what happened a year later? I married her.
Wow.
That's how I met my wife.
It's like one of those true love stories.
It is an amazing love story. You see, that's her. She was. Can you imagine how I felt when she came into my room and said, I'm going to be your therapist and I'm going to help you out? And that was 33 years ago. So that is the most memorable animal moment of my life.
That's crazy. If you could live anywhere besides Miami, where would it be and why?
Wow, that's a good question. If I could live anywhere except Miami, where would it be and why? I think I would like to live in a beautiful A-frame house on a lake in Montana. I know,
really beautiful.
Montana is just, it's wild America. It has very harsh winters, I realize it, but I'd want to live there because I just want to experience the seasons, the wildlife, the vast open places of land. A lot of people expect me to say, oh, I want to live in the Amazon, or I want to live in Africa, or No, I think this is the greatest country on our planet, and I think we have so many wonderful natural treasures here. And I've always dreamed about living on a lake in the mountains.
Yes, Miami is beautiful and everything, but we only have one season, I guess.
Yeah, we don't really experience, and being born in New York, I remember I love the fall. The fall is my favorite season of the year.
there.
Changing leaves, the smell of the forest, it's just beautiful.
It is. Well, what piece of advice would you give kids like me who really want to save our oceans and our planet because it is in a lot of pain right now?
It is in a lot of pain. And Sasha, the reality is that we know less about the ocean than we know about the moon. And we need to learn as much as we can. I don't need to tell you how important it is about recycling, about limiting our use of plastics. People talk about the microplastics in the ocean. They're found in our fish, they're found in birds, they're found in everything. And it's not necessarily just the straws. I mean, things like fishing nets and fishing lines, all of these things that are doing so much damage to the ocean. You're doing all the things that need to be done. By you coming out and speaking to people like me, by producing interviews and trying to spread it to your peers and getting your peers to understand what's going on, I'm really confident that you're going in the right direction. I think that you are a role model for all of your peers, for all of your friends. People should look at you and say, I want to be like Sasha. I want to be like Sasha. I want to follow her and her lead on what we can do, because it is so true, we are living in very limited resources.
Yes.
It's not an unlimited resource like people think. And, now we're dealing with climate change. We're dealing with so many different forces that can really change the world for all of us. I think what you need to do is make people understand that it's all connected. It really is. Whether it's I say this, one of my favorite lines all the time. I said, whether it's the bees that pollinate the fruits and the vegetables that feed us, or the rainforests that produce the air that we breathe, or the medicines that treat us, or the coral reefs that protect the shores from storms and help filter our oceans, it's all connected to us. When we protect these things, we protect ourselves. You see, the ocean provides us with more food, with more resources than anything on this planet. If we lose that ability to do so for the ocean, we in the end will suffer. We will lose.
Everybody will. Animals.
Everything. It's all connected. And that's what we need people to get them to understand that nature and wildlife and the environment is all connected. It's not separated by political boundaries. Just because this state does this and this state does this doesn't mean that, the birds don't recognize boundaries. The bees don't recognize boundaries. The oceans, the fish don't recognize international waters and national waters. It's all connected, and we need to understand that.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes I feel like people don't understand that if not for nature, we wouldn't be alive either.
That's exactly right. Our health, our quality of life, all depends on nature. What you're seeing now, even with things like the pandemic that we've seen, the COVID pandemic, whether it be that, whether it be Ebola, whether it be SARS, these pandemics that we've seen in recent years, where did they come from? They came from animals when forests were cut down and we invaded the territory and we opened. Yeah, they moved everywhere. We opened Pandora's box. Instead of letting things be stable and taking care of each other, we cut things down, we spread things, and that created these pandemics.
A lot of scientists also think that it's coming from global warming.
Well, global warming certainly it's accelerating the process.
For example, the ice is melting and the animals have to somehow survive.
That's right, and they're going to be trying to look for food in other places, spreading out. And we're developing so many things. You look here in this country alone, we're having more conflicts with nature, people coming across bears, coming across other animals, because we keep cutting down their habitat, building into their habitat. There's certainly going to be those kinds of conflicts. Animals don't want to hurt people, they just want to survive. When given the option, they're always going to go the other way. But if it means they're going to starve to death, or they're going to have to go into a community, to go into somebody's garbage can or go to somebody's bird feeder, that's what they're going to do. But they're not doing it to be mean. They're doing it to survive.
Thank you so much, Mr. Magill. You're amazing.
No, thank you, Sasha. You're the one who's really amazing.
And thank you so much for having me today and telling me so many amazing stories and about your wonderful experiences.
Oh, thank you. My challenge coin for my conservation endowment.
Wow.
So that's for you.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
On the front side is the zoo, and the back side is my conservation endowment. And I want you to have it.
much.
I always want you to remember having this meeting with me in this office. And I want to be able to say,
I'll never forget this
well,
day.
this is something I won't forget either. You are a remarkable young lady. I don't know if I've ever met anyone like you in my life. And I feel that you are going to be making a huge difference.
It was so much fun spending the day in Ron Magill's shoes today. Thank you so much, Mr. Magill, for this beautiful medal. It was an honor to interview you. It's so amazing when you meet somebody who also shapes the world around the environment. Remember, guys, we're in the fight against pollution together. See you guys next time. Bye!